and welcome to Journeys and Journals. I'm Bernie Martin Beck, and when my guests bring a picture like this, I know that somebody else besides Bernie is just full of questions. I'm going to ask our guest today what in the world all these question marks are all about. You are the keeper of the archives. You're Lowell Ford.
Right.
And you've brought back your wife of 40, 50?
54 years in November.
Wow. If I say your name wrong, you'll correct me, so I'll let you say it.
Valina.
What's that picture all about?
My grandfather, his last name was Sherman, his first name was Lewis, and he was a doctor in Oakland, California. This picture was taken probably sometime in the 30s or up to the 50s of a room on 28th Street in Oakland, we believe it to be, and he was a teaching doctor. And so he would take a big board with large paper on it and scrawl out great big drawings of the insides of how the human body worked in order to teach people how to take care of themselves.
Visual aids.
Now
he felt that important part of being a doctor.
Right.
Education.
Yeah. Now this is a humorous gathering, but I'm sure that he drew all of these pictures at one time or another and just piled them up in the room to look like it was a complete Christmas unwrapping time. And he's sitting right at the bottom there under those question marks. And I think that's where I've gotten some of my sense of humor from him.
And I am so glad. Welcome back, Lowell. Lowell, we have lots more things that were your grandfathers and your fathers here on the table in front of us, right? That picture over there, one of my favorites, is of the most humble of dwellings in San Francisco. What's its story?
Well, after the 1906 earthquake, so many people were without homes, and so they put up tents, thousands of tents, and they also built hundreds, if not thousands, of these little survival shacks, they called them, I believe.
And where were these located?
They were located somewhere in the city area where the fire hadn't destroyed things.
Maybe Golden Gate Park.
And now this one is at one of the public places, probably in the Presidio, which was a military base. And as far as I know, those buildings are still there for public display.
Yeah, this is the way it was. This is the way people survived after the earthquake. What about food? Do you know about Red Cross came in?
The Red Cross came in, and there was lots of people who donated help from all kinds of areas.
Big kettles and outdoor fires, I'm sure, to cook food for hundreds and thousands.
And I understand there were no chimneys left in the burned out areas that could be used. They were all destroyed, cracked beyond use.
That's the way in an earthquake. Now, did I understand that the earthquake did not do the most damage in San Francisco?
No, the earthquake did a lot of damage, including opening fissures in the earth. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I remember being told that it opened up, horses would fall down, and the earth would close in again. But the majority of the damage was done by fire because all of the water mains were either broken or had never been hooked up. Fire hydrants were useless. And so that's the way most of it was destroyed by fire.
because of archivalists who have collected these treasures, but part of it is your family was there when it happened?
Yes,
The Ford family.
the Ford family and the Sherman family.
And the Sherman family, and they were there way back when our country was new.
They had a part in the beginning of the country, a lot of political activity back east, Rhode Island and those areas. And then one of the brothers came to the San Francisco area by ship, and I can only give you a smattering of it, but he helped to, he used to be a whaler, but then he landed in San Francisco through connections and became one of the earliest merchants and began to build some of the earliest buildings in there. And they had so many fires around the 1950s that he decided eventually
1850s?
that, and I'm sorry, the 1850s, that he decided that he was going to build a stone building. And I understand it was the first, if not one of the first, buildings of stone in San Francisco.
Still there to this day.
According to what my wife knows about it,
It's on Montgomery by Clay. It's called the Sherman Building.
Very interesting. Now, I've asked especially that today he'd bring the toys. I'm a toy lover. She makes newfangled toys. Oh my goodness, if you ever can imagine a sailing ship, this must go back into the early rock ages.
Well, that goes with the little wigwam over there, the little canoe.
How do you get the idea that that rock could become a canoe?
You just spot it.
And this could be a teepee.
That's a teepee,
And what else do you have here?
Well, there's some vegetables,
There sure are. Carrots and corn.
carrots and corn.
Oh, my favorite. In this, I'm sure.
That's the first one I found that got me started, the pear.
Silicon. Oh, my goodness. It really looks like a pear. Then what happened? You started in on buildings?
On buildings, yes. I have quite a few. And this one is very special because it looks like the farmhouse I was raised in.
I'm going to put this building over by this train because I think they're about the same age.
He was built, let's see, I was born in 36, and that was built about 1940, the house.
The house
That
was.
house,
But
yeah.
the train, when was it built?
well, my father played with it about 1910 era.
Now, it's your father who came through the San Francisco earthquake.
Right.
He was 2 or 3,
He was probably about 2.5.
and he says, Mama,
Nay, Mommy, more. Nice, Mommy, in other words.
he thought that that rocking of the cradle was fun stuff.
That's right. Of
But
course,
we know it as
as the earthquake that caused it.
the San Francisco earthquake. Why don't you take us for a little ride here on the train and just tell me what it's. I was at their house and saw train after train after train.
Well, I have a hobby of trains. Now, I don't know how extensive you want me to go with it, but I played with that when I was a child, and somewhere or another, I don't know for sure how it happened, the engine was lost. But I used to put those together and play with them. And then as I became a teenager, I decided, well, I want a hobby. So I started with what's known as HO, which is about half the size of this. And so all my life, up until about 30 years ago, I played with that size, making a display area.
And then came the bigger trains?
Then I decided that I couldn't see, and I went outside and created, with my wife's very wonderful side help. You know, she was by my side all the time helping me, with a track that's 1 foot wide and equipment large enough to ride on and to haul firewood and all of that stuff. So probably be about 2,500 feet of track. 2/3 of it is wood, rail. And then we have about 30 buildings, a roundhouse, railroad stations, trestles, tunnels.
Now, folks, this is not like the usual paint one picture and, you know, you go around the other side and you find out it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
These are, I mean, the church.
Now,
And I said, it looks so weathered. And he says,
that's right, there's a church there too, and I ought to get your side of the impression because you've seen it as well.
absolutely. And I said, it looks so weathered. And he said, well, I chose the boards when I took down the old building to reflect the exterior of the old building.
Yeah, I call it a poor man's railroad. I use everything that people throw away.
But the boards are stacked so neatly that he's ready for the next dream. And you've been supportive of this whole hobby?
Sometimes I say that's enough buildings.
And then you start painting rocks.
I paint rocks.
Did he ever say that about?
No, he encourages me, and he tries to find the rocks, and I reject most of them.
Like this corn cob down here?
Yeah.
We didn't bring it, but there's one that I was thinking about bringing. I was digging out under the house, and I was picking, and here was this rock showed up, and it turned out the shape of a birdhouse, and where I had picked a hole, you know, picked,
With a pick.
it made a hole right where the bird would go in to the birdhouse.
Oh.
So she painted it as a birdhouse.
You know, I couldn't resist but bring my own toys when I knew they were coming with theirs. This
Yeah.
was my dad's, and the Jehoshaphat is his name. Father
Well,
was.
isn't that cute?
It's all full of straw, so you can see the straw stuffing.
Yeah.
And the face, they tell me, is gauze, and they just pinch it so he'd have a little nose. Well, I don't know how far back, but 1906 is as far as I know that his stories start, history starts. And then this was his grandfather, my great-grandpa's.
Huh.
Cast iron skillet
Cute.
for kids. It really can cook an egg,
Yes.
as long as it's
Boy, that's
not
good and
too
that's
big.
good and heavy.
But
Yeah,
back to you
that's
and
cute.
all your toys here.
That's very
Some
cute.
of them are noisemakers. We call this a pull toy, and it is a noisemaker, isn't it?
Yeah, the string is tangled up there.
Oh, that's like life, isn't it?
See, now arm goes up and down, and it clicks like a duck clucking as it goes along.
There was a thing in your house, a great big house on the mezzanine or at the upper level. You built a model of your house before you two started building?
Yes.
How many hours went into that?
I had a lot of time. I was delivering oxygen to people with emphysema in the San Francisco, Oakland Bay Area back in the 70s. So I had a lot of time to make this little house. And I made the wood out of 1x6 pine. And I just run it through the table saw till I got the size that I wanted. And anyway,
You built it then, after you
and I
came?
built it.
The only
No.
thing is, I changed the design because it was too big. I said, too big. So I made it much smaller.
Recycle, recycle, recycle.
Mhm.
It just looked like something thrown in the garbage.
Mhm. When we went walking through the woods, you would sometimes find private dumps because we didn't have public disposal at that time. We found that pot in there, and I brought it home, and I used it for a flower pot for a while, and then one of my friends who got me into painting wanted to do some painting on things like that.
And there the cherries are and the apples. Oh, great. I don't know, but what in the world? Do you suppose this was homemade or
No, I think that's a toy.
came from the toy
It
shop?
was a ring toss. You stand back and you get so many points for whatever stick it went over.
Well, I'm going to have to get real close to have that one go over. Toy shops.
Your
How does that fit into your family?
Your grandpa's toy store.
My grandfather, after he had had a scale business, repairing business,
The scales like bathroom scales?
weighing scales for grocery stores and
Yeah.
other businesses, he would make sure that they were working right. There's pictures around here somewhere.
Now, why
But,
was it so important to have accurate scales? Well, of course.
Well, you have to be fair to both sides. Now, it's not here, but you remember that cartoon of the merchant pushing down on the scale, and on the other side is the lady pushing up on the scale?
Okay, or weighing their thumb
Yeah.
on the.
So-
But here are the many scales.
Right, apparently he had two stores, because it looks like this is two buildings. But anyway, after that, then he bought a toy store.
Take it from-
That's all you had was whatever it was. You know, a camera shop was a camera shop. It didn't have everything.
Sure.
And it was crude and rough, but
Well, this guy has this train that sometimes goes to Pottsville.
used to. We don't take it anymore.
That was a lot of work to tear it apart, but took hundreds of kids like my age and big kids and little kids on
Right.
rides with that train. Pottsville is a wonderful,
And that's out in Merlin, north of Grants Pass, about 10 miles.
named for Deb Potts, the owner of the Historia Emporium, I swear. Anybody that had something they were throwing away.
Now, this is a model of the Tunerville trolley, which is a story in itself. But I have a little model at home about this big, and I enlarged it so that the kids could ride in it. Put it at the back end of the...
And Tunerville trolley comes right out of my dad's era. I don't know why.
It was patented, that design was patented in 1927 by I don't remember who,
Mr. Tuner, maybe.
but this goes back, I have to at least mention about it. This is a book about the crookedest railroad in the world, and this is California's Mount Tamalpais and Muir Woods Railroad, which is just across the bay from San Francisco. And
A short ride.
they would give people rides with an engine going up the hill, and then there were these cars that would carry maybe 20 or 30 people that would come back down free coasting. And there was a man in the front who acted as the brakeman. Now that must have been a thrilling ride to come down the, so anyway,
Over in Santa Cruz, there was a little train that reminds me of it, Shadowbrook.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love this horse-drawn fancy carriage. But do you think these were real toy price tags?
Those were price tags for products, whatever they were, not only toys, but maybe appliances, things that, you know, you wanted to buy a vase, anything that
A little string,
that
a
needed a
little...
price tag on it.
Oh,
And they would attach it to the product and put the price on it.
oh, I remember. I think I remember them right out of my childhood.
Yeah.
You know, that's getting to be 76 years ago.
So is it time to switch hats?
Yeah, what's the story?
Well, this one here was her dad's, and I inherited that a little while ago, within the year. This one here I bought when we first moved here to the southern Oregon area. Bought it here in Grants Pass about 40 years ago. So I kind of liked it, so I bought it. It's gotten a little dog-eared now like everything else, but anyway.
And it's named?
Hmm?
One of them has a
Oh,
pretty
this one here
important name on there.
Has Stetson.
Woo-wee.
So I guess he was always high class. That's why I married her, because she was high class.
There you go. Here we go clear back to Tinker Toys. Oh my goodness, and that's full of toys. Imagine the creativity. The kids that grew up planning to build bridges. Oh my goodness. Without...
And this was a parachute at one time. It's broken up.
Of course. You can only do so many shoots
Of
before...
course, different shapes for different purposes. It looks like all the donuts are up on the top.
Oh, and I remember this falling all over the floor, and then somebody had to pick them up. Oh, yes.
Then you could make a windmill, and here's the
papers
for
to
the
make...
windmill.
That was fun. You know,
There's a wheel. So they had all kinds of...
I kind of miss some of the creativity. Maybe kids nowadays think they do a lot of creating with their... But we played games, oh, like Annie over and jump rope and outdoors from dawn till dusk.
I went out to see my grandfather one time at his toy store. And by the way, it was across the street from MacArthur and, what's the name of the other? I can't remember, but it was another politician's name, so we made a big deal of it. But I got out there and he wasn't there. I was about 8 or 9 years old. So I went looking how to get in, and I couldn't find a way to get in, and I'm shortening the story. I saw some cans outside. There were 5 of them, and at that time they were worth 2 cents a piece. So I went to the grocery store, which was a block down the road, got the dime, and made the phone call home with the dime.
This guy is very, very inventive. I think that is, how many of you might, you were how old?
Probably 9 or 10, 8, 9 or 10. I don't know, but it was quite a traumatic trip to get on the bus to go 4 or 5 miles by myself.
I heard a lovely story about in the Seattle area, and the big kid of 8 or 9 was to take the little kid of 5 or 6 over to see the Boeing field and the big airplanes. And that kid said, I'd have given my right arm, he says, I think I meant it too, to go back to see that. How can I ever say thank you for all the treasures? I mean, obviously, Grandpa, on both sides of the family, were geniuses.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the drawings of this. This is all about your...
Now, I don't know if he did them himself or if he had an artist do it, but it was all about teaching to take care of your own body, understanding your body.
Wow.
And,
And this is about the fact that his radio broadcast went from San Jose clear over to San Francisco, Oakland.
that was the range. He
And-
also went to Hollywood, California, I understand, to give radio broadcasts.
Okay, now you have to tell me his name again.
Dr. Lewis L. Sherman.
And the Lewis, both of you have such interesting stories about your family. Thank you for recording them here. How else?
You're welcome.
How else would this information be recorded except bringing your toys? What's this one called? Passenger car?
Those are passenger cars. In between is a tank car. And then that, I really don't know. I would like, if somebody knows what it is,
Well,
I'd like to know what it is. I think a man used to be able to sit in that little room at the very end, that little tall building, and the rest of it may have been coal.
We're going to ask you on our viewing audience to let us know. Just call in Better Life TV, and we'd love to learn your story. And thank you ever so much for coming to be on again. Welcome.
If anybody wants more detail, they can contact you to contact me.
Perfect. Here at Better Life TV.
There's a whistle thing that I brought so that I could sign off, and I don't see it.
Oh, man. Shall I just rattle the rattle?
Yeah,
That'll be
something
good.
like that.
Time's is fun by. Thanks
30
again
seconds.
for coming.
Yeah.
Okay,
I-
you're welcome.
Bernie Martin Beck saying bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming all that way.